Welcome to our MPTV Coaches Show for this week. Ryan Lindley here with Eric Myers, and a lot of great basketball, wrestling over the last week. Let's talk a little bit first about boys basketball.
Yeah, boys basketball, big wins. Last week over Rantoul, we had to go all the way down there. Much improved Rantoul team from what we've seen in years past. And then we got Canton here, and that was another close game to open the Mid-Atlantic Conference, but two big wins right there. For the Potters here. And the Rantoul game, just a quick recap there. Ruger had 14, Newhoff with a career high of 12 at that point. Wes Goodman and Barlow 11 apiece. Potters win, walk away with that 52-48, but overall a pretty good game. Kind of closes out our non-con a little bit there before we get into this Mid-Atlantic Conference play. Let's look at this Canton game though, because I feel like there was a lot happening for this Canton game, and sometimes there's that pressure there, there's unknowns. Your first Mid-Atlantic Conference game, what's going to happen, but the Potters walked away hugely victorious on this one. Goodman with 13, Newhoff with 11, and Ruger 9. Potters walked away there with a 30-point win, 58-28. So pretty good one. What about happened last night?
Yeah, so we had Peoria High here in the Potter Dome. Tremendous game. I mean, two teams that I think you're going to see do well in the postseason. Unfortunately, the Potters fall 54-52, but a game that literally went down to the last few seconds. Tate Rowley led the way with 14 points, Gus Rugard 13 more. But I think it's a learning experience. The Potters have, Metamora this Friday, and then they'll host Champaign Central. Obviously, Metamora is another really strong team in the area. So playing Peoria High close, I think there are a lot of things the Potters learn from. Hopefully they can take that into the Metamora game, into Champaign Central, and then obviously you get a lot more Mid-Illini games in the next week. You're going to see Pekin, you're going to see Limestone. So when that Mid-Illini Conference schedule starts to roll, playing those good teams in non-conference, I think really helps.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it right there. Playing also, I think that Peoria Central team, right? Different style of gameplay a little bit. Yeah. They were, very athletic, very physical type game. We had a couple of those in our Thanksgiving tournament, but this just kind of echoed that, which I think helps us out a little bit with confidence and, making some decisions under the fly, a little under a bit of pressure there. So that should help build through. But as you mentioned, really good Metamora team who took out Washington the other night. So obviously come watch.
Yeah, it'll be Friday at Metamora, and then Pekin is home next week, Tuesday. So is Champaign Central this Saturday. So 2 out of the next 3 home for the Potters. So if you're looking for something to do, head out to the Potter Dome.
Yep. So let's go over some girls basketball right now. So if you guys were lucky enough to watch MPTV, you heard us call the girls Mid-Atlantic opener at Canton, where they won 50-37 over, I would say, a much improved Canton team. New coaching, lots of things there. Really good game in the first half, back and forth, and the Potters team to really pull away in the second half. Fixed some things there. Addie Engel with 19, Tatum Lamper with 12, but what are your takeaways from that game, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, just a really well-played game, especially in the second half for the Potters. I mean, Potters were probably a little less aggressive than they needed to be in the first half. You said it, I thought, really well. Talked about Canton being really aggressive on the rebounding side of things. Second half, Potters seemed to clear the glass a little bit more significantly, and I think that was probably the biggest difference from first half to second half.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that we noticed that was definitely in the first quarter and second quarter, we were just getting out-rebounded. We didn't have any second chance points. And then, we're going to let you get on a little interview here with Coach Becker that we did after the game, Barrett, but one of the things we talked about at halftime was we need to control the rebounds a little bit more, get those second chance points, and sure enough, we come out after halftime, almost like we flipped the switch in the locker room there, and the girls came out. I'd like to say, Addie Engel really took over that game on the defensive end there, and just a real good court-to-court performance for the girls that day. So pulled away with a win there. So girls also played Tuesday at Metamora. They lost 63-56. Tatum Lankman had 17 and Addie Engel with 13 in that game. Another good game, close fit. I know one of the concerns going to that game was Metamora had some height, which we don't necessarily match up real well with, but any thoughts from that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the gameplay or kind of the flow of that game. Potters got way behind, came back, made it close. Then Metamora kind of a late surge to get to that 7-point victory, So it's just that consistency, right? And I think that's one thing that Coach Becker is going to be focused on. I feel like in this next week or so, as they play Sycamore on Saturday. Sycamore, by the way, just ended a 51-game conference winning streak when Canelan beat them the other night. So that'll be a challenging game, and then they're going to restart Mid-Illini play on Tuesday. These are all away games. Lady Potters are kind of on a long-term road trip right now.
Yeah, we talked about that over the broadcast. It's like they're not home for the whole entire month of December. It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and Coach Becker brought that up as well. So let's take a moment here. We had a chance after the Canton game to sit down with Coach Becker, get his reaction to that game, and then he talks a little bit about that sort of long-term road trip and such. So let's take a moment, show you that interview, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit about where wrestling is right now. Just kind of talk about generally, off to that 1-0 conference start, obviously, I think clearly there are things that you're going to work on, but I think overall you have to be pleased with what you saw out here tonight.
Sure. I am happy. It's a double-figure win at home to start the conference play against an improving Canton team. I thought we did some good things the first half, and the ball sometimes just doesn't go in the basket. I mean, we had shots that we wanted to get. We got them point blank. We missed some free throws. We missed some layups. And that can be frustrating, but missed shots are a periphery part of the game. Late, we got the ball to go in a few times, and, you feel like that could have happened a few more stretches. And not to make any excuses for our kids, but they're troopers. They've been battling sicknesses up and down our roster all week. And there's been the sniffles, and they've lost their voices, and people have missed, and so they've piecemealed it, and they are a pretty gritty, tough group, and so they found a way tonight. Engel, pretty quiet. I don't know what she ended up with, 19 or 20, pretty 19. Quiet. But she's just battling, and as her teammates are too. And sometimes it wasn't pretty. Sometimes you execute well, and the ball just doesn't go in, and that can be frustrating, but our kids hung in there. There's things to improve upon, but I like where we're at. Now they're going to be tested and be road warriors. I mean, we're not back here till January 3rd when we play, so we kind of talked in there. It's a 10-game road stretch coming up, so we'll go light tomorrow, not without hard work. And I told them don't leave your brain in bed, but we'll go a little lighter tomorrow and get ready for Metamora Tuesday night on the road.
So you spoke a lot about, missed shots there, right? We noticed a little bit in the first half that Little Giants were getting all the rebounds. Did you make some adjustments at halftime to maybe change that discrepancy at all? Or it just seemed like our girls got a lot more aggressive in the second half?
Yeah, we need to be more aggressive from the get-go too. I mean, that's something that even on our whiteboard pregame, where we were supposed to come out and be the aggressors and be relentless, especially on the glass, and it didn't happen perfectly. It never does.
It's true.
But I am proud of our kids. They're showing some resiliency, and winning is hard, and I'm learning that after 30 years of coaching. Winning is hard, and we just have a competitive group. They're not giving up. Things don't always go well. You don't have to be perfect in this game, and sometimes we've had teams that have played at such a high level, and they're like, you're used to being up 20 and the game over early on. That's just not realistic all the time, and so. Yeah, you got to find ways, and our kids are doing what they're asking and what we're asking, and it was a good result tonight for us.
Absolutely. I know one thing that you're going to be pleased about, just because I know one of your things is always make more free throws than the other team attempts. And I mean, admittedly, sometimes my math is a little fuzzy, but I got you at attempting 23 free throws and then making 4. So, I mean, you got to feel good about that.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
So 23 attempts and then 4 make for Canton.
Yeah. How many did we make?
16.
Oh, that's probably a little better than our kids, and really that's been a strength all season, that we've found ways to, and even in the first half we were in the double bonus late, but we were finding ways to attack and get in the paint and get to the free throw line, which is it's part of what we want to do, and they're doing a good job at it.
Last thing before we let you out here, Coach, this is one of those fun questions that, always learn from Todd Bisping. Want to ask you something and have the fans learn something.
Great. Okay.
So here, this should be an easy one. I just got to ask, you went with the polo the last couple games. I've always seen you as a suit guy. What
you are right. You are observant.
He's very observant here.
Almost as observant as Mr. Bisping there, but we're 0-1 in the suit. Took the suit on the road to Rock Island. These finally came in, the white ones we had the last game and the black ones. So our staff was like, we go casual for our tournaments. Okay. Typically in the regular season we are in suits, but we lost. So I don't know if that's a little bit of the baseball guy in me.
Okay.
Not really, but and we're not trying to be lazy, but we thought we'd sport the new
I like it. We thought it looked nice up here. It's like, wow, this is well coordinated.
So now it's working. It's a 6-game win streak, and Tuesday night at Metamora, we're going to be in some kind of polo.
There's nothing wrong with superstition. I'm going to say that 100%. Coach, thanks a lot.
Sure.
We always appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks, gentlemen.
Well, you guys heard from Coach Becker right there. He's a little bit concerned about that long, that road trip, but I think we'll be okay there. Not to mention he gets to go back to his alma mater there and hopefully bring home a Potters W on that. So as always, keep in touch there with the Lady Potters as they go and try to keep going and then get reset in the Mid-Atlantic Conference next Tuesday versus Peking. Speaking of Tuesday, that's another game that me and you are going to do for the boys, right?
Yeah, boys game on Tuesday. So the girls are at Pekin, boys are home in the Potter Dome. You and I will be on the call for that boys game. Pekin's been, they've been winning lately. they're a team that kind of, I think it's one of those things where they're trying to move from that middle tier of the Middle Illini to the upper tier of the Middle Illini, and it should be interesting. I mean, I think the Potters right now, if you were going to say where they're at, you'd put them as probably the number 2 team behind Metamora, and so it'll be a very motivated Pekin team, I think, coming into the Potter Dome that night.
I think that's very well put. Obviously Metamora is heads and shoulders, I would think, about everybody else, and we'll see how that goes throughout the season. But I would say they're the hands-on favorite, probably to go back to state and chance to win it all this time. If not, definitely get to that title game. Switching gears to wrestling, our wrestlers competed in the McLaughlin Coffic up in Joliet over the weekend. Great job to them. Lots of individual good places there. So they're going to be at Pekin on Thursday night, and they're going to go back up north to Pontiac over the weekend. So our wrestlers are also very much on the move, and we have a Morton invite for the Morton wrestling team.
Yeah, it's going to be January 7th. Now the Potters wrestlers will be on the road, kind of like girls basketball. They're going to be on the road a lot during the month of December. They've got some other Middle Illini matches, a couple of their non-conference matches, and we'll talk about those probably in the next couple of weeks. But I just want to tell folks, get this on your calendar. The January 7th Morton invite. It's always a great event. Wrestling in the Potter Dome. A lot of times wrestling meets are of course held in the wrestling room, but they bring the mats down to the Potter Dome. It's usually several different schools coming in. Usually a pretty high level of competition. So if you're looking for something exciting in early January, put that on your calendar.
Yeah, and I do believe we're going to try and broadcast that on MPTV. I don't think we're going to have announcers because I don't think any of our announcing crew has ever announced wrestling, and we've watched some like WWE, but I don't know if that's quite what it is. So you're definitely going to get a live feed into the Potter Dome for that. We have cameras around, and we'll go through that. Speaking of cameras, if you're out there and you were watching this and hey, I need a part-time job, or maybe I could help out in some way, MPTV is always looking for camera operators. This is obviously part-time evening job, some weekends, here and there, a couple hours at a time, nothing big. And if you can meet it, that'd be great. We'll train you, no experience necessary. If you have any issues or would like to learn more, just email mptv@mcusd709.org and we'll get in touch with you. Coach, any final thoughts?
Again, it was a good solid week this week. A lot of solid competition. I'm excited, like you mentioned, the Pekin game. I just want to reiterate that one. We're going to be on the 13th of December, and so obviously you can tune in there. If you enjoy this show or anything else on MPTV, again, like, share, subscribe, all of those things. Make sure that you're tuned in to Potters Athletics as we head into not just the rest of this month of December. We head into 2023 and get into full tilt Middle Illini Conference schedule for wrestling, for basketball. We'll be talking some swimming coming up in the next couple weeks as well as they get going. So there's a lot of sports still going on.
There is, and we're going to try to actually bring you some, let's say, on-the-court exclusives. Maybe we talked a little bit about this, but maybe heading over to the Pekin Holiday Tournament, maybe heading over to the State Farm Center, just to see what happens. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some insights. Well, for Ryan Lindley, I'm Eric Myers. Until next time, thanks, guys.